What's going on, guys? So engine is here, finally got delivered. I got my brake-in oil up there. We're gonna pull that off and take a look at it in a second. First, I got my PCV plate, my EGR delete. I'm gonna open up and show you guys because these are gonna be going on the motor. So let me get these open for you. Okay guys, so I got my Damon Motorsports PCV plate here. I'm not using these two, so I'm plugging them. I'm only gonna use one. And I got the actual PCV valve in here with all the connections and the gasket and all that stuff. New hardware. So this is gonna be going on the new motor. And then I got my EGR delete right here, Damon Motorsports again. Got all the hardware, the block plate, comes with everything. I think you might need Teflon tape for one of the fittings. I think that brass fitting right there. I'm gonna have to make sure and check. But this is gonna go on also. Now, let me get the motor open. You can see where the injectors are gonna go. So the PCV plate's right down here. So let's get to that. And then I got my whole, I'm gonna get a new flywheel and a new clutch. OverSpeed sent me out new injectors, so that's awesome. Everything else, new injectors, new seals, new O-rings, they're all up on the table. I'll show you guys those. He also mounted my crankshaft position sensor right here, which is awesome because it has a tolerance that it has to be within. So it came laying down. I picked it up because I need to get to this side. It's on an old tire, if we can see it. So nothing's gonna get damaged. It's all fine. I'm gonna finish pulling it off. Probably gonna leave the top on because there's no valve cover. I really don't want anything getting in there. So I'm gonna leave the top on. I'm gonna work on getting my PCV on, my EGR delete on the block. And I think that's about it. I could put in my new studs all the way around for everything, my exhaust studs, my intake studs, and all that. I also need to go get some RTV for the EGR delete. So that'll come. Let me get this off. All right, so I'm gonna start putting this together. We'll get this all put together and then we'll put it on the block. And that way it'll be ready to go. I probably won't put the actual valve in yet. I mean, I have an extra one because I bought it and I planned to do it before I even bought this. Planned just to replace the valve. So I probably won't put the valve in just yet. I'll tape over the hole so nothing gets in there. And I'm just gonna put it on. And then this one I can start assembling it. But you can't put this plate on without some, Damon recommends red RTV on the inside of this before you tighten it down to the block. So I'm gonna need to get my hands on some red RTV before I do that. But I can still wrap that brass fitting in Teflon tape and put it on the big block. Show you guys how that's gonna look. And I got more parts I'm gonna go over too, a lot more parts. Everything you're gonna need basically for an engine swap. What you should do while you have the engine out anyways, like a clutch, just some basic things, some maintenance things. You don't want to have to tear back into the engine to do a clutch when you just had it apart. So let's put this together first. So basically this gasket only goes on one way. And this little tab right here fits right there. And when you pull it out, you'll see that it's already bent a little bit to follow these corners. just line it up, and it should fit really far in. And you saw it was like a thick gasket, like, you know, deep, but it fits into that hole really good. So put that in, and then we're gonna put this on, and then we're gonna torque to spec. So you wanna line up all the holes, put them in hand tight first. I gotta say, you know, Damon Motorsports, really, their products are really good quality. I got their passenger side motor mount also while I was at it. And see, you want them to go in by hand first. You really don't want to cross thread these. So sometimes it might be a little hard to get them in. You just want to make sure. Also, what you can do is, before you even put the plate on, screw them in by hand in the threads, you know. That way, if there's any burrs or anything on this block, you can tell instead of fighting with it to get it to go in. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get them in hand tight, and then very, very, very lightly turn the wrench on these and see if they'll go in. You do not want to force them all the way down. Let me grab this last one here. So now this should be the last one. And that one's a little tight too. Okay, so all these are on now. The ones that were difficult, here, here, and here, they were difficult to get started by hand, but after not even one turn with the wrench, they went in freely. So you gotta be careful of that. You don't wanna force it all the way down, because that means you're cross-threading the whole way. If it's hard to get on with your hand, and then with a little bit of turn of a wrench and it goes freely, you know it was just some burrs on the threads. So now your PCV valve goes right in here, and it should click in. And then you have a retention clip that goes in here too, in this little groove. So now I'm gonna take this brass fitting, put Teflon tape on, and you wanna thread it in right there. And then that and that are used for, I believe, the exhaust manifold. This goes on the block also. So I'm gonna have to look again at the instructions and see this, but I'm gonna do this right now since I can. Okay, so I got it on. I tightened it down. Now the instructions on the website say 13 millimeter. I tried my 13 millimeter wrench and it's too small, so I had to use a 14 millimeter deep wall socket. You could probably use a 14 millimeter wrench as well. Just tighten it down. You don't want to like super crank on it. I just tightened it down as much as I can while I was holding this plate like this, and then using my other hand to tighten it down, and that should be good enough. It doesn't have to go all the way down, especially with that Teflon tape. It's not going to. So yeah, let's see about getting the rest of this on. Okay, so I can't put anything else on the motor right now because you don't have all the different things on it to put the EGR delete on there. So the only thing I can do is the PCV plate, and I'm gonna only do that for right now until I'm ready to drop it in. When I pull my motor, that's when I'll put everything on this one and then do the EGR delete, the oil catch can, you know, start wiring everything up. Until then though, I will say, now, I got this from OverSpeed Motorsports. Jordan at OverSpeed, he's an amazing guy. He was awesome through the entire process. Honestly, cannot thank him enough. He also sent out, while I'm at it, these. Now these are 4 new. So these are 4 new injectors. And he even put the injector seals, his injector seals, and O-rings on them. And I mean, these things are clean. So definitely cannot wait to put these in and you know, not have to worry about fueling limitations with injectors. Gonna make sure everything is ready. It's gonna be basically a brand new setup with the motor and everything. So I got 4 of those ready to go. And that's all I can do right now. So I'm gonna take you guys downstairs and I'm gonna show you the rest of everything from the turbo to little parts that you're gonna need for this big turbo engine swap that people don't tell you. Another thing he included is the braking oil. So you gotta run this oil for, I believe he said 200 miles. 200 miles. Then you gotta swap it out and you gotta run conventional oil for 1200, and then you gotta run full synthetic after that. I'm gonna check to make sure, but I believe that's what he told me. What's going on, guys? So I'm gonna grab everything I've bought for the car and the motor swap, and I'm gonna go over each of the products with you and why I did that. So let's start off with the fun stuff. A B&R S4 turbo. So it's an internal wastegate. It's right there. I got all brand new hardware for it. New studs all the way around. New locking nuts all the way around. So this is good to, I believe they said about 480 wheel horsepower, I think. Don't quote me on it. I was going to go B&R S3, but I ended up going B&R S4. I'm probably going to max out my fueling capabilities with this. And if I ever decide to go 6-port injection through the intake manifold, I have more room to grow. So I went with this turbo. This is a direct replacement bolt-on. It bolts right onto the OEM exhaust manifold, and any aftermarket downpipe for your car will fit on this. I really wanted a V-band connection right here, simply because it opens up the ability to easily swap your downpipe. It also opens up the availability to easily swap to a hood dump exhaust. They didn't have them, and finding a downpipe that's made for the Mazdaspeed3 with a V-band connection is pretty hard, pretty difficult to find. I've found the easiest way to swap to a V-band would just be run a connection like this and then have a V-band come off of this. So things you're going to need with this that a lot of people do not tell you you need. First things first is going to be this thing. So now this is a heater core extension. Now what you need is you need a Gates. It's called a Gates. I forgot the part number, but I'll put it up on screen. It's a Gates, and then you need just a 3-inch long extension or something like that. Simply because this turbo, the housing is so big, you're gonna have to extend the heater cord to go underneath your 3.5-inch intake. S3, I'm not so sure about. You might need it, you might not. I didn't look too much into the S3, but this is something you need. This is not that expensive. Something else you don't necessarily need, but I decided to go with, is a brand new oil drain from your turbo to your engine. But I went with this brand basically because they have, it's a bigger drain. They got really nice clean connections. It's got an insulation piece on it. You can run your OEM one. Like I said, this turbo is meant for a drop-in replacement, so you can run your OEM one, but mine's a little rusty. I don't feel like messing with it and trying to take it off and possibly breaking it, so I decided just to go with an upgraded one. Now, because you bought the turbo, they also send a new oil feed connection that goes right to the hose. You got a gasket in there, some crush washers in there, gaskets. And it comes with new turbo gaskets for the exhaust manifold and your downpipe. So you might as well, since you're in there, you might as well replace them. The turbo comes with them. Also, you're gonna want to reuse. See, I put the restricted oil banjo bolt in there because my turbo was smoking. So you're gonna want to use the OEM banjo bolt. You're not gonna want to use the restricted one. So if you don't have your OEM banjo bolt anymore, you're gonna want to buy one. You do not want to use a restricted banjo bolt on this turbo. Now another thing, I bought brand new, all the way around, exhaust manifold studs. Now, the motor I bought from OverSpeed, from Jordan, he included exhaust manifold studs. Since I bought these, probably going to throw them on and just send those back with him, or I don't know. I'll see what he wants to do with them. Another thing, this is a 3.5 bar map sensor conversion. It plugs into your OEM map sensor, and then this plugs into the 3.5 bar map sensor. And here is the 3.5 bar map sensor. Really, I'd say you need this if you're running anything over like 25 pounds. I would go with this, just because then your map sensor, it just can't read that high. It'll just read the highest it can and not any higher. So if you're over boosting, you won't be able to tell. With 3.5 bar map sensor, I think it reads up to 35 pounds of boost. I'm definitely not going to be pushing that high, I don't think, unless my tuner thinks that's appropriate. But this will be able to help me tell if I'm over boosting. I also got brand new nuts. Brand new Mazda OEM genuine part nuts, exhaust manifold nuts for all the way around. So I've had these parts for a while. I've labeled them so I know what each box is. So I'm going to go through these. This is obviously the oil catch can. So this is another Damon Motorsports product. I like Damon Motorsports. They're a good brand. They're a good company. They make high quality parts. This is their non-vented oil catch can. Comes with the little drain valve right there that you can open up, and it opens and closes so you could drain it out with ease. This is one of those things, like I said, you don't necessarily have to do this. Because I got a new motor, I want to keep it very, very healthy. I want to make sure no oil is going into the intake and gumming up those intake valves. So I have the motor out, I have it all apart, I might as well. Next is this is a needed item. Absolutely 100% needed. This is a 3-port boost control solenoid. So it comes with all the fittings. It comes with the hoses, the vacuum hoses. It comes with it all. You can see the instructions. You can find tons of YouTube videos. I'm going to be making a video on installing all of these parts. Okay. One of these things, probably not needed. Pushing more horsepower, you're going to want it. It's a passenger side motor mount. This is going to help with wheel hop. Now, wheel hop's pretty bad. I already have a rear motor mount, and I have a video on installing my rear motor mount. It's a very stiff chromoly rear motor mount. It's very nice. I like it a lot. But it doesn't stop all the wheel hop. So, again, this is a Damon Motorsports one. This is very nice polyurethane bushing, I do believe. And a nice bracket here that connects in there. This connects, and then you got another bracket in here that connects. Now, another thing. Since you're in there, you might as well. This has a new throttle body gasket, new intake manifold gasket. That's a turbo oil drain gasket. I don't know if I need that because I got the turbo oil drain line, but I have it. And I have these two just in case. Also going to end up buying, I don't have it yet, but I'm going to end up buying a exhaust manifold gasket while I'm at it. Might as well. That way when you're pulling everything apart, you don't have to worry about if something breaks. Don't worry, you got new bolts, you got new studs, you got new everything. Now, I also have a new intake. I have their short ram intake, their silicone one, right now on my stock turbo. Now, since I'm doing all this, might as well, if you want to really use all the power of that turbo, you're going to need a 3.5-inch intake. So, I just went and bought their nice aluminum. They have a silicone one also, but this one's their aluminum one. Comes with 2 couplers to hook those on. So you have the MAF housing is here, and if you pull this out, you'll see it also comes with an air straightener. Now I also have the JBR filter, 3.5-inch filter. The MAF housing goes in between. So the filter goes on the MAF housing. The MAF housing connects to here with a silicone coupler. Then you go down here and then you have another silicone coupler that connects to the turbo. Autotech high pressure fuel pump. If you're watching this video and you're thinking about even modifying your Mazdaspeed3 at all, even the littlest intake, it's worth it. You could even find sometimes companies are having deals on an access port and fuel pressure or fuel pump at the same time. Try to buy them together. I bought mine together and it came with a tune. So I lucked out. It was pretty nice. But please, if you're going to modify your car, buy this and high pressure fuel pump at least. It is needed 100%. So that's all I have. That's everything I have for the engine swap. Until then though, this is the update on my belt motor. It's here. It's ready to go. I just need to drop it in and have time to do it. Hope to see you guys back here for next episode. Hopefully the motor will be going in. Thank you guys for watching, and goodbye.